United States of America without his fully conscious permission. And I'm sure I haven't paid enough taxes because I've got no income yet. Somehow I keep on doing things like eating every once in a while and paying a light bill or two. But how do I do it? You're going to ask, what's the source of your income and how come you don't come to see us anymore? So, yes, I've become a little jumpy, but I'm staying one step ahead, tapping my own phone, videotaping my every move, watching myself day and night, replaying the tapes because I got a bad case of the deep fear, paranoia, anxiety, despair, and suicide blues.
Asking me daily, regularly, on a basis, why are you in this race? It hasn't already been decided? Well, maybe, but, who knows what might happen. There used to be 11 members, 11 candidates in the race. Now we're down to 2, so we're doing pretty well. But we do have to be realistic. The votes are there. We know what's going to happen, but we also have come across some problems, and Rand mentioned it early on. Sometimes when we really do win, we don't necessarily get the votes, and that is a problem that we have to deal with. We live in very interesting times, and something big is happening in this country because of this campaign. Probably the tipping point that made me make the decision a year and a half ago was the disastrous war that is going on and the need to get the message out to the American people why we need to follow the Constitution, end this war, and not get involved in these kind of wars. It wasn't a government. It wasn't the Soviet Union. It wasn't like 1962 with the Soviets in Cuba with intercontinental ballistic missiles and nuclear bombs. There were 19 guys, and angry and bitter, and they had their complaints. And terrorism originates from individuals who are very, very weak, who don't have governments, and they strike out. And just think of how they brought us to our knees. And just think, everything you do these days, every trip you take on an airplane, how we have been so easily intimidated and so easily, taken in to give up our liberties. And I've heard it too many times. I'm sure not from an audience like this, but too often I've heard, well, don't you have to give up your liberties to be safe and secure? And I say, right, there is never a time that you should even consider giving up liberty for the sake of security. There was a bill that came up that was passed within several weeks, which I wholeheartedly condemned and voted against, and we don't need it, we ought to repeal it. That's the Patriot Act. Warrantless searches for all Americans. Most conservatives are pretty good on the gun issue. Guns don't kill, the criminals kill. We don't want to register, we don't want to register guns of law-abiding citizens. But here, right after 9/11, what have we done? We've registered the American people. And we don't need that. We don't need national ID cards for everything that we do. No. We don't need the FISA courts, and we don't need these military commission acts and secret prisons and tortures. And to believe that this country actually passed legislation that repealed and omitted habeas corpus is so serious. That is something we need to wake this country up to realize what kind of powers our government has taken from us. frightened and be willing to give up their freedoms. But this has been going on for a long time. Actually, the Patriot Act was written before 9/11. And it was sitting there waiting for an opportunity. So the opportunity comes along and it gets passed. But the final version of that bill wasn't even available to be read by the members of Congress. But the members of Congress, they told me, I said, why are you voting for this? And they said, well, the American people are frightened. They want us to do something. I said, we haven't even read it. They said, it doesn't matter. How am I going to go home and defend my position of not voting for the Patriot Act? That's how the system works. It's utterly tragic on how we're losing our liberties, and it's people are so complacent about it. But we have to be very, very vigilant and be very much aware of what they're doing and why they're doing it. I have some very strong opinion about the drug issue. The first one is that using drugs is a very serious problem. But the most serious, the group of drugs that's the most seriously abused are prescription drugs. The hard drugs are very dangerous. I don't fight for getting rid of these laws because I endorse the use of drugs, just like I fight for freedom, not because of the way you want to use your freedom, but to allow you to have the choice on how you want to use your freedom. That's what I have. Drugs are very dangerous. But when it comes, and there's also a constitutional issue here. The first drug laws against marijuana came in 1937. And now they've discovered that marijuana can be helpful to some people who have AIDS and chemotherapy, and some states have legalized this use. What does the federal government come in with their obsession about regulating this? Is they go in and arrest individuals who have not committed violent crimes and putting sick people in prison because they believe in compassionate conservatism. Yeah. But they're violating the Constitution because the states should be able to deal with this. But the real issue here is choice, because you talk about the drugs and making choices and decisions and taking responsibility, but what about on the other side of using vitamins and nutritional products? Why should they be regulated? Why shouldn't you regulate and make your own decisions on what you want to use? Long ago, somebody came to the office and asked me if I would support legislation. I introduced legislation to allow individuals to transport and sell and buy unpasteurized milk. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I didn't know that people cared about that. And I'm not interested in drinking unpasteurized milk. But why should the government tell you that you're not allowed to drink unpasteurized milk? The assumption is made that all Americans are idiots and will do a lot of harm, and they need the guidance of the Washington politicians and the bureaucrats to tell us what to do. And I would say that I have a lot more trust in the American people and free people to make wise decisions. Something did begin this last year, much bigger than I as an individual. But it's out there. The time was right. The opportunities were there. The vehicle, the internet was available to us. And believe me, there's every reason in the world to be optimistic that this will continue and a lot of good will come from it. And we will restore freedom to this country. Thank you very much.